Session approval of the agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Second.
Motion made by Wally and second by Larry to approve the agenda as printed and circulated. Any questions or correction of the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion is carried. Approval of the minutes of July 28, 2014 Committee of the Whole.
Move to approve the minutes of July 28, 2014 Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Motion made by Larry, second by Wally to approve the minutes of July 28, 2014 Committee of the Whole. Any other questions or corrections of the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Citizen input, nothing at this time. At this time, protections of persons and property, we have the ambulance department.
Okay. To start off, we had a good month of July. We were up to 35 calls, which is our second highest month of the year. So call volume starting to pick up again. We had 6 no transports. 3 of those were fire standbys. The other 3 were diabetic calls where we rendered aid and did end up transporting. Don't really have much else on the report side of that. Switching back to the beginning of the month, our finances don't get done from bookkeeping till the middle of the month, so we're going to be a month behind again. So in September meeting, I'll be able to give you July's report, and then from there on, we'll be a month behind again. So I don't have the financials at this point. I got the proofs back from John on the labeling of the ambulance, so hopefully that'll be done in the next week or so. He's got to get them shipped here, and then he'll put them on, so probably another week and a half, and then that'll be up and running. And then I talked to the mayor at National Night Out about, we had some of the equipment there, and he had asked that we come in and kind of show you guys what we have, because we have a lot of tools that you guys maybe aren't aware of that we're pretty fortunate to have. So going forward, we'll set up at one of the meetings that we come in and show you. Kind of waited until an ambulance would be labeled so we could take you through and show you everything. So that's all I got. Any questions for you guys?
How was the call volume this month?
I think the last time I looked, we were at 11 calls, so we're doing pretty good. We're averaging about 1 a day, which is we're doing good. I think there's been 1 no transport, and that was a minor car accident where there was no injuries at all. So it's starting to pick up, and usually we see that trend about mid-year. So.
Any other questions? When I asked Troy here when we had the night out, I think what I would like to do, each officer, including the ambulance, they have their expertise, and I think at each one of these committee of the whole meetings, maybe for like 25 or 30 minutes, I have each officer come in and explain what he or she does, you know, what they go to school for. And this way, we as council can understand what their jobs are, you know, like Ben, Joanne, and you know, whoever. And you know, that's what we need to know. I think that'd be a great tool for us to understand how they do their jobs and when they do their jobs. So that'd be about it. Police department, we have 2 gentlemen here. Ben, you want to go fly?
Sure. Chief Committee asked that we stop by because we had the privilege to go to the National School Resource Officer Convention out in Palm Springs, California. Actually, La Quinta is right next to Palm Springs, was where it was at. There's about 750, 800 officers that attended, between officers, principals, administration and stuff, went to this. We had gotten donations, funding through injuries, errands, some other Shopco, Quick Trip. Anybody else there? That support sending us down to this conference. I actually went the year before. I find it to be the best conference out there for our position within the schools. Obviously, we hear school shootings and that kind of stuff, you know, escalating on the news. One thing they talked about real briefly was that Slenderman case that you guys might have heard out in Milwaukee, where the 12-year-old girl brought the two other friends, or the two girls brought the one girl and stabbed her multiple times. Well, there's actually another incident in Ohio. It seems to be a very big to do with kids, and something I'm going to meet with our school psychologist just to make sure that we get the word out to the teachers. If you see students read this, they're believing this. You know, they're very manipulated, and you know, just one of the dangers within the schools. We talked about walk and talk therapy with kids with extreme behaviors, how that seems to work very beneficial with kids with emotional behavioral issues. You know, back in the olden days, it was the officer came in, it was rah, 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 you're gonna listen to me, and that whole dynamic has changed. Learned that the brain doesn't fully develop till age 25, so we're talking about drug use and things like that, how that is impactful on a person. One of the biggest things that came out of this conference was a case that just got settled out of Indiana about mandatory reporters and reporting this information to law enforcement or human services during a child abuse or a sexual abuse case. This principal wanted to find out a little bit more information before reporting. He only waited 4 hours. They found him guilty and sued in $1.3 million towards that school district because it was not immediate reporting. That's something we definitely want to get back to our schools and our departments, that if you get this information, this is immediate reporting, not sit here and wait to get it figured out. Human trafficking, it's almost becoming worse than drugs. I don't know if people really realize that. These gangs and people will get teens, young adults involved, and pretty much manipulate them so they don't go back to their families, things like that. And they'll go and prostitute 5-6 times throughout the night with these pimps. And it's becoming a huge problem in our country. So, you know, there's websites even for small towns and Craigslist that, you know, around Brillion County. It's, you know, you might have seen that in Brown County. They just did a sting a couple months ago. You know, it's around here. One of the studies they threw at us is 1 in 7 teens send nude photos to one another. So obviously that's a big problem that's going out there. And that's one of my goals for this next year, is to incorporate a sexting presentation within our health department. I actually started talking with our principal about that for this coming year. We were able to hear the Power of One presenter, a very motivational speaker. Found that to be fulfilling. We also got to hear Christina Anderson, who got shot during the Virginia Tech, and her story, and you know, she was one being dragged down off that incident. That was pretty amazing. And the last night was sponsored by Alice, and Alice is the Alert Lockdown. And we went to training last fall for that within our schools to take a more proactive approach. And that's a huge push right now. But they sponsored the last night. Michelle Gay's, her daughter Josephine was shot at Sandy Hook. She was a kindergarten first grader. And that's where these shirts came in. Her daughter loved purple, and so you saw 750, 800 cops wearing purple on there last night, so pretty amazing.
I don't think there was a dry eye in the room. As law enforcement, there's a lot of things that we always see just in our career that kind of, I'll say, desensitizes us, you know, whether it's traffic accidents, whether it's investigating sexual assaults of children. After a while, there's a lot of things that you see that I guess a lot of people would kind of be not offended, but kind of be like, oh, I can't believe that happened. When we were in the room listening to Michelle Gay, you know, she was a mother. She's not law enforcement. She was a mother of a victim, and you know, to be up there and speaking to, you know, that big crowd about her story, and she held her composure throughout the whole thing. And I think it was probably harder for law enforcement to hear that. And I don't know if I'm off Chris Stefani. I'm a part-time officer here in Brillion, and I also work full-time in Holstein as a police school liaison officer. So a lot of times, me and Ben, we work together as far as different things that we're trying to implement within our schools, trying to implement things just in several schools within our county. And I guess the biggest thing in listening to Christina Anderson from Virginia Tech and Michelle Gay, they're a different standpoint than what we're used to listening to. A lot of times we listen to police officers or attorneys, you know, kind of put us through the training and tell us, you know, how to do our jobs or better ways to do our job. And these were victims They came from a victim standpoint to say that, like Christina Anderson talked about when she was at Virginia Tech, they didn't have locks on the doors. So they heard the shooting in the hallway. They kind of hunkered down and basically, I think, hoped that the guy wouldn't enter the room. Well, he came into the room, and one of the things that we're trying to get away from now is just a simple lockdown to where we go into the corner of a room and, we kind of cover our heads and, they're trying to lean away from that because that doesn't save lives. And Christina kind of talked about how basically they were sitting ducks and they're waiting for him to come in, and he came in and shot several people and killed several people in the room she was in. And one of the things she kind of said at the end of it was, now, they're out there talking about, running away. They're talking about fighting back if that's your last resort. That was a room of all college students. They probably could have taken that guy out if they were trained or had that option. And that's one of the things she said. She didn't have that mindset because that wasn't something that was trained in them. So I guess that's something that I bring back to my school specifically, that, I don't want people to be sitting ducks. We had an incident in our school last spring where there was an intruder in our school. I happened to be off that day, but my principal, in talking to him throughout the year, we were talking about different things that he could do in situations like that. Even though it wasn't policy, he located that gentleman. He gave him one chance to leave the school. He didn't listen. And my principal basically put him in a chokehold and took him to the ground. After the incident was all said and done, he didn't have any weapons or anything like that, but you don't know that. And it proved the point to where that day the superintendent was gone, the police chief was gone, the school liaison officer was gone. The front lines in our schools is staff. It's not the police officers. My captain, was all happy that he was there within a short amount of time, and I didn't give credit to my captain. I gave credit to my principal because he's the front line. And I guess that's the one thing that I definitely brought back, to my school is that, I want to give the staff in the school different options. I want to train them, that if anything ever like that ever does happen, in our community, that, they're going to be trained to be able to respond. And I guess, overall, like some of the classes, Ben always makes fun of me because I always take like supervisor type classes. So some of the classes that I took was specifically dealing with like different scenarios that you can run with school safety procedures. It also talked about like how to respond to them. There was even a leadership class that myself and Ben went to kind of, I think both of us kind of have that plan in our careers is sometime get involved with leadership, and that was a class that we could listen to, a sergeant from Los Angeles talk about, this is how you can be a good leader within your department. One of the things that's kind of separate from the training, we had our structured go to your class and, go to different things. One of the things that I kind of pulled out of it too was the contacts that we make. Different officers from throughout the United States. There was also police officers from Canada. I think there was 3 or 4 police officers from the country of Georgia over by Russia. So it's just one of those things that you meet so many different officers from so many walks of life throughout the United States. Just listening to some of the stories and some of the things that they do in their schools, it was kind of like, well, maybe I should try that, in my school. But that was one of the things that I kind of pulled out of it too. It's an excellent place to get a lot of different contacts. I got some business cards to where now I can go and email them, and if I ever need like something that's not necessarily done around here, but just need a different idea, I can easily contact them, and because we made those contacts at the conference.
Yeah, and I guess I challenge you guys, if we had an active shooter in here, what can you do if you heard shots? Fortunately you have that door, you can barricade that door if you can't get out there. Just other than lock the door and you gotta sit in the corner. That's what our schools are getting away from, so.
In your, when you go to these classes like that, and I was thinking about, you spoke of the schools, does the faculty receive training in how to defend some of these problems? Actually, like I know you guys have weapons training and hands-on training here. Do you carry that over into the faculty and have the members of the faculty in with you training, or do you give special training at the school?
We both trained our faculty. I trained our entire school district, and he did the Holsteins on the ALS model as far as what you can do. It's just simple things. Don't give that shooter that much credit that they're that accurate. If you got to run in the ass, throw things at them. Do you like anything, even if it's something light? thrown at you, nobody likes that, and that's an instinct for even a shooter to react differently. So we are giving tools as far as that.
So you're actually doing a mock demonstration if somebody actually throwing stuff at you guys and you're the bad guy or bad girl, and then you go into the school systems and they,
Through the training videos and stuff like that we've shown, yeah.
oh, okay.
We're still in the process. Up until last October, you know, my perception of my school was we had an awesome lockdown plan. If we ever had a problem, you know, they would lock down, and you know, for the most part, we were a pretty secure school. And we went to this Alice training, and like it was a complete eye opener to me that, you know, this is common sense stuff that even me as a law enforcement officer, it had to be kind of told to me that this is what we should be doing. So I went back to my school and I talked to my administration, and then ultimately last year after our intruder, I had a full school presentation to everybody. And I came up here and also assisted Ben in giving a presentation to the staff here. And it's one of those things that the stuff that we talked about is really common sense. When, as parents, when we talk to our children about like stranger danger, or if somebody ever tries to, you know, kidnap you or grab you and pull you into a vehicle, you know, most parents always tell their kids, you know, don't go. You know, you do what you need to do. You need to kick, you need to scream, you need to punch, you need to, you know, do whatever you need to do, guide your eyes out. Well, that's pretty much, you know, we teach our kids that already. So now we haven't been teaching that in our schools, and basically now we're bringing that back, and it's still fairly new. It's not an easy process to talk about certain things, because some people do get offended, because a lot of people do think, you know, this can never happen in Brillion, or this can never happen in New Holstein or Chilton. And that's the thing that we're trying to do, is change that mindset. You know, we're not saying that it is going to happen, but we want people to know that, especially me, you know, if you come into my school, I want those people to know that you're going to get the crap kicked out of you. You know, and that's a deterrent. And that's kind of what I want to teach my staff. And, you know, I had a presentation, and I just actually had a training for 5 of my school employees last week that taught them everything that I knew basically about Alice. And after that, you know, I had a kindergarten teacher say, this was great. You know, I had a high school teacher from Forest Junction that works down in Holstein. He went home and talked to all 4 of his kids, and what they were doing the day before, he obviously realized was not good. Me personally, my kids go to Chilton School. There's 3 kids in the Chilton School District that have a different plan than the rest of the school district, because I'm not going to teach my kids to be victims. And there are some school districts that still do that. You know, they believe that lockdown is the best thing, and even in here, there's probably difference of opinions on it. And you know, ultimately, I can do a scenario right now that would probably tick you off and you'd be mad, because basically it would teach you to lock down in that corner, and I would just walk in and I would shoot all of you.
Mhm.
And it's an eye opener.
Well, isn't that kind of human reaction, is to be scared of a gun? For instance, instead of doing things that are going to distract the guy, like you said, like throw little objects at her or something like that, most of us are like, oh gun, oh crap, you know.
It's not, and
You know.
the biggest thing is it's just changing the mindset of
Right.
people.
No, I like that.
You
What
know,
does ALICE stand
what-
for again?
What's that?
What is ALICE?
Alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate.
It's controversial with the counter part of it, because it talks about basically fighting back. And the thing that we try to get by to everybody is that that's the absolute last resort. That if somebody comes into the classroom and you have no other option, you know, that's when you start throwing stuff. If it's a high school class, that's when you know, swarm them and take them down. I did a presentation to my 7th graders, and I picked the 4 smallest kids in there to come up, and each one of them grabbed onto my arm. You know, they grabbed onto my legs, and they immobilized me. You know, I'm, you know, probably 100 pounds heavier easily than all of them, and you know, it's kind of, you know, fighting back to save lives. And I guess, you know, to me, it you know, really is common sense, but it's not, because, you know, we just kind of have to change people's mindset. You know, because we definitely, you know, when I did it up in Brillion, I wasn't really sure how it was going to be taken. Even when I did it at my own school, and you know, there was a teacher that said, well, you know, why aren't we already doing this? You know,
I was here.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just, and we work together all the time. You know, I work here part-time, and me and Ben always talk about different things. We have meetings once a month, you know, with the police school liaison officers of the county, and we're just trying to implement different things. And you know, we do want our schools obviously to be the safest that they can be, and they are for the most part safe, but there's always things that can be done in them. But you know, to answer your question, you know, I know that I've gone back in the stuff that I've learned, especially even from the conference. You know, I'm bringing it back to my teachers and staff. I'm also bringing it back to different people in my city, churches, city councils, chamber of commerce. I think it's a never-ending training session, basically, to say it.
The biggest thing is, why we're teaching the staff and the students because of last resorts, because time from the first shot fired to the 911 to our response is 5 to 6 minutes. A lot can happen in 5 to 6 minutes. With someone with the AR-15, and the guy in Virginia Tech, I don't know if you guys know this, but he trained to have a gun in each hand at all
Fire
time
time.
to always be shooting.
Well, look at the US Capitol building, was it about 3 years ago? Guy just walked in there, and that's the most secure building in the country. Walked in there, it took out 2 officers.
US Naval Yard
Yep.
last year.
US Naval,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the most, probably one of the even more secure
Yeah.
probably than the Capitol.
Well, the green zone in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Now, you may say anybody with elementary kids. Elementary kids, it's barricade the door, run if you have to. It's getting out of that environment. We're not saying, all right, 1-year-olds or 5-year-olds, tackle them or anything. We're just teaching them, we're gonna have rally points where they can go and, it's just, one shot to a locked door and it's open. And this knucklehead in Sandy Hook changed the whole dynamics with lockdowns in schools. So,
There was, one of the facts of Sandy Hook was that, everybody did their lockdown procedure and a lot of people died because they followed that procedure. A lot of times we don't give our younger kids credit. When I started talking to my son, he was 5 at the time, and we talked for about half an hour, and he kind of was looking at me with like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about, Dad. And when we were done, he started asking me questions. He was paying attention the whole time. He knew exactly what I was talking about. At Sandy Hook, there was a 7-year-old that basically grabbed onto 2 younger kids and walked out of the school. He wasn't trained by the school to do that, but he saved 2 lives, at 7 years old. So one of the things that I try to get by my staff is let's give some of these kids credit. As even my teachers at my school, they're always like, well, I don't want to make that decision. I need to be told that this is what I need to do. Sandy Hook, the first people that died were the principal and the guidance counselor. So if those people are gone, now who's going to make the decision? And then the other thing was, one of my teachers brought up when I started talking about, having kids run. If there was an incident, she's like, well, I can't believe that we would teach our kids that because what if we can't account for them? I said, I'd rather, if they're not in the building deceased, I know that they're out safely.
and people are gonna throw what ifs. When's the last time you heard that they couldn't locate a kid because of an evacuation? Never. Never. So the what ifs can happen all day, but you need to be realistic with the what ifs.
And the teacher said, that, the kids are gonna follow what I do. And I said, that's all fine and dandy, but now what if you're the victim? Now you have 20 kids that don't know what to do because they've always followed what you did. And it's really important now to get people to realize that, we do need to give our kids some of these tools to be able to use in school, in real life. If they're in a mall somewhere with, a parent and something goes on, what are you gonna do? You can't really lock down, you need to run. So it's just, everything about the school, the National Conference is really geared towards school safety, dealing with mental health issues. I always kind of say that, if I got rid of 10 kids in my school, I probably wouldn't have a job. A lot of those kids are special ed, have mental health issues. Now they're talking about mental health and medications related to the school shootings or active killing situations. A lot of them are, put on new medications, changed doses, and now they're starting to relate a lot of that to medication use. So it's just, a lot of times you don't always hear some of that in Wisconsin. Ben and I are part of the Wisconsin Juvenile Officers Association, and that's all people from Wisconsin. Well, sometimes you just don't hear certain things because we do live in our bubble, of our own area or Wisconsin. Sometimes you need those national acclaimed speakers to come in and say, hey, this is really the way it is. So, a lot of the things that I, at that conference, I already brought back, and I'm actually very excited to, start utilizing some of it when school starts.
That's one thing that we as elected officials need to hear from, when you guys go to school like that, because we have to make decisions here how safe our community is by directing, find out if you guys got the tools to work with. That's our goals. That's what we have to do to make sure our schools, our streets are safe and they're well protected. So that's why we ask, you guys bring stuff back and tell us about it. So when we get into discussions with the faculty members or, you know, with some incident happened, we know, we have some idea what's going on. You know, if you get a call on the night and the chief says, well, we had a killing over here, and we say, or there's something going on, we have no clue how it's supposed to do what we should be doing. You know, and I think we have to be enlightened on these subjects also. We just can't look the other way and say, oh, that's the school's problem. No, it's our problem as a community. You know, so.
I'd like to thank the council for the support of allowing us to go. Originally, this started out, I think, last fall, that we were going to try to go as all the school resource officers in the county, and we all had to pitch it to our supervisors, and just say, we're looking to get donations to send us. It's not going to cost the department necessarily any money. It always does cost something, but ultimately, 2 out of 4 of us went, and that was because we got support of the council here, and I had the support of my chief in Holstein. And, a lot of times we don't always say it, but, we do appreciate the trainings that we get to go to, and we do appreciate the support that you guys give, because ultimately it does allow us to come back to our communities and, make Brillion safer and Holstein safer. So, I really would like to thank you guys for that support.
Well, thank you very much for that. Any other questions of the officers?
I do just have one other comment. I think it's great to have options instead of, like you said, just going and hiding in the corner. So I think that's awesome that you guys are giving that to our schools.
Empower the teachers to make their own decisions, because if something's on that side of the building, a teacher on this side of the building can do something completely different, so,
Right.
yeah.
I like that.
Hey, Ben,
Yes,
we still have a lot of people coming in from bigger communities all the time into our city.
hanging out.
Yeah.
Seems like every time we get rid of 2 or 3 come in.
That's what I hear.
There's a lot of transition with population around here. Still heroin, meth, it's here. Don't be fooled that it's not.
Because it's a small community and they think they come in here and do what they want to do.
No, and, and that's our job as police, to put the pressure on those guys to be beefy.
Yeah.
I live around here, this is my community, and I take that wholeheartedly.
With how close-knit we are in our small communities like this, it doesn't take long to identify them.
No, I'm sure it doesn't.
And I don't want to sound mean, but sometimes you really do have to put that pressure on those people to realize that this isn't a city that you can come into and do drugs, sell drugs, commit crimes. Sometimes we really do have to put some hard pressure on them, and they do just pick up and move to a different city. And unfortunately, a lot of times they just kind of move from city to city within our county. But
Yes.
a lot of
We're
kids,
sharing.
yeah, a lot of kids that sometimes that I have problems with. They're transient families. They stay in one place until they get pressure from human services or law enforcement, and then when human services starts getting involved, then they'll pick up and move to a different county, because then it starts all over. But we try to work with them as best as we can. But yeah, I mean, we see that in all our communities in this county. The transient families, and a lot of them have drug abuse histories.
Ben, have you got a lot of input with the school up here now for the safety and restructuring?
Actually, Nick Madison just called me early this afternoon, and we're meeting at 11 to finalize everything for the school year.
So
I have full
our
support.
police department has a good a voice
Yes.
of the safety of the building and what should be done, or what would be workable for everybody, right? We're doing that okay?
Yep, last year right after Sandy Hook, when everybody started rediscussing, we made some changes up at the high school. We got cameras up there now, and with the new building, I'm sure we'll have cameras and all that stuff, limiting the access at points. Something as simple as see something, say something, talking to people that don't have visitor badges, why are you there? Start doing that more than what we didn't do.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, gentlemen, I really appreciate we
Yeah,
have to
thanks
do
for
this more
input.
often.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Fire department, Rich is not here.
Good
No
job,
report
guys.
from Rich.
Thanks for being good
Municipal
sports.
court, Lori gave us some information on that municipal court. She just was a hand piece there. City buildings and ground review monthly report there.
In your packet.
Yeah, Lori had stuff in her packet about that. We're slowly getting things done. It's taken some time, you know. I guess just the way it is when you budget so much money, just do one thing at a time.
As far as buildings and grounds, I would like to comment that we had last week, if you remember, I had in my report, we had from our last council meeting that we were going to have our football team here to do some community service work. They were here last Friday. They did an awesome job. They really did, yes.
They got a lot of stuff done.
Oh, they sure did. I was just amazed. I walked around through the parks today to see what they did. In Horn Park, they just did a phenomenal job in that park. It just amazed me how good of a job. So I'll be sending a thank you to Coach Sheehan and the team, so for their work.
Yeah.
They did a nice job.
Dennis
They hauled,
Miller.
what, 7 loads of brush
Yes,
Yeah.
out of the park?
yes.
Dennis Miller and Terry Matibia, I was talking to Dennis Miller today. He said he started from one end of the park and that pole and chainsaw never quit. He said he just kept right up cutting. He said, now you can see through it.
Yeah, you can.
Well, it
Take-
does.
Take a ride or walk through
Yeah.
there. There's some piles that got cleaned up yet, but looks nice. They painted picnic benches, they cleaned it up, it really looks nice.
Yeah.
Then they came back here, had a little pizza party and went swimming. So, yeah.
Kids are
Did they
really good with work.
do any, with those trees and Peters? I noticed quite a few of them didn't make it.
I wasn't
I
out
was
at
gonna bring that up to
Peters,
him,
wasn't sure
I
what they
forgot.
did.
Well,
Yeah,
it-
go over
that,
there and do some dead ones.
I mean, when what's her name, Jill?
Jill,
Yeah.
When Jill looks at those, then she'll get reimbursed for
Oh,
all those.
okay.
yeah, I think that was part of it.
And some take a while for it to come out and, next year, so she's watching them, don't have to worry about that.
We go to the tough year to plant.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's so dry.
It has been.
Yeah, you gotta,
Yes, you-
Mother Nature's gotta
yeah.
have some water,
Right.
Okay, finance and purchasing, there's nothing at this time. Personnel, community development director, redevelopment coordinator position. You got something in here, we brought this up before the planning commission. Planning commission unanimously voted that we must maintain a community development director. And I think Lori has something from Mel. Mel, could I make it tonight? Mel's opinion?
Yeah, Mil's opinion was that he would like to see the part-time position filled, and then work towards the idea of, did any of you check out the Amory website and their community development
Yeah.
page? I thought that was really neat. I was impressed by all the work that group has been doing in that community, and I thought that would be a nice opportunity for us to maybe switch our focus to, and I thought one thing we could do is, and I'm gonna talk with the RDA about it tomorrow night. The RDA's focus is the downtown, but maybe they could be what this branches off to become. So they could, some of those members of the RDA that are passionate about what they do on that committee could be part of this group too, and not have two that are kind of duplicating ideas and projects. Just have one economic development core. And so it's just things to start thinking about. It's not gonna happen overnight. I got a call in to Holstein's Economic Development Corp. I haven't heard back from him yet. I'm guessing their director is very limited part-time. So if I don't hear back from him, I'm gonna put a call in to Amory too to see if I can get some info from them to see how they were formed and what they had to do. Do you like that idea? Are you interested in that, or is it just?
You wouldn't want to have to do that job, would you?
No,
No,
she
I'm
can't.
not saying.
Some communities have
No.
a city administrator working on that, don't they?
No.
Oh, yeah, they did, but I think he's just on the board. I don't think he's their director, not
Yeah.
Amory. No, he's just on their board. He's not their director. Their director was Paul somebody.
Oh.
Yeah.
Other communities, is
Yeah.
what he's saying, other communities had their city administrator.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
and those that I talked to that have the administrator doing the community development work, they're lacking in marketing. That's
I'm
what
sure
they're
they are.
telling me.
Our
Yeah.
neighbor to the south of is one of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
So,
the first thing that came out of their mouth,
When
right?
you looking into recommending salary or hours?
I would say hourly, just as we had Justin working, And see, you know, advertise for part-time and see what we get.
Same hours like what we have, right?
You're right,
Yeah.
pretty much the same
Not
thing.
40 hours.
No. And just see what we get, you know, and if it
No, I
doesn't
agree
work,
with
then
that.
we'll look at something else, but.
Basically, we gotta look at it better in budget time to
Right.
go any further.
Right.
Yeah, right.
But just for
Right.
now, just
Right.
let
We
me
gotta just-
advertise and see what.
Well, as
see
we're
what
going
we
now,
can
and
get.
then at budget time, we'll have to take a
And who
look
knows,
better.
maybe there's that part-time person that's been kind of waiting and wondering and says now's a good time for me to step up and do something. We
Find
don't
another
know.
Justin,
Huh?
find another Justin.
Yeah, he
Even if
was-
it's only for a short time, he did a lot.
He sure
In
did.
a short time.
Yeah, he
I was
really
very impressed
did.
with the young man.
Yes,
So-
he
Well-
really did.
And that's what we're gonna be, we're gonna be a stepping
Gee,
stone,
like
because
the
nobody's
mayor,
gonna stay here.
Right.
Unless they're from here.
Unless
Yeah.
they're from here.
They all wanna move up, you
Right.
know, to the big.
Well, I'll tell this council right
Not a
now.
bad wage for someone starting
No.
out.
No,
I talked to Justin before he left that Friday, and I told him our doors were not closed to him coming back. I mean, I went out on a limb and I said, hey, I said, if that does not work for you, I said, you're a young person, and you have to do what you gotta do, but I says, our doors will be open if you wanna come back, and he really appreciated that,
That's
so.
good.
You did a
Hey,
great
it
job.
might be, you know what, somebody could paint a pretty picture on the other side of that bench, and you go for it, and all of a sudden, this ain't what I asked for.
Yeah.
I said, you're welcome to come back, because you didn't, you know, you didn't dig no holes while you were here.
Well, Laura, you haven't advertised yet, right?
no.
You know, we gotta make a motion for us to do
Okay.
that,
Okay.
so we need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and advertise for a part-time, community development director.
I'll second that.
A motion made by Wally and seconded by, yeah,
Bob.
Bob.
That guy.
Bob, I don't hear you that much.
Well, I'm talking tonight.
We gotta turn these things.
To continue the community development director, redevelop coordinator position. Is there any question? I guess we have to put in the minutes at what we are doing now, right? 32,
Right, the current
32
position.
hours.
the current position.
Yeah.
Current position.
Okay, in the current position. Okay, is there
Did he
any
work more than
questions?
that sometimes or not?
Pardon me?
Did he work more than that?
No. He flexed. If he was gonna go over, he went home early.
Okay.
Is there, this is to present to council?
Council, yes. you gotta-
But we can't post for it now, right?
No, oh wait, it's only 2
Oh,
weeks.
another 2 weeks, okay. Any other question, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
My other thought, and that's not directly with the position, but with that. the-
Economic
the
development
Avery-
board?
Yep. Do we want to also contact, while we're creating this, do we also want to contact the Chamber of Commerce just to see if maybe they might have a representative that is well-versed at what the
Mhm.
focus is and maybe work together, maybe to try to once again
Sure.
bridge that gap between
Sure.
the two groups?
I will be talking to the president of the chamber tomorrow, so.
Who's the
Just to
president?
throw it out.
Tammy Kaler?
Who?
Tammy Kaler.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Offer them the
Yeah.
opportunity, at least.
No, that's a good suggestion.
All in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Any new business? Can any council member attend the August 21st Bakia Chamber after 5? Did somebody go down there, show presence?
I already sent my thing back.
Oh,
You're gonna
so
do that?
should be-
Okay, thank you. Because I'm not gonna be in town.
Where's that?
I won't be there right away, but I'll be
The
doing.
Bakia, or is that how you say that?
Bucky
The
is-
Kia, I
Oh,
think.
What is that supposed to mean?
I think it's,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Is that French?
About wine.
Something about wine, probably.
Maybe.
That's all that matters.
Something
Yeah.
about wine.
Something about wine.
Wine?
One thing.
Fine, yeah.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Any other discussion, Betty?
One question I had, I just happened to be this noon, when I was eating my lunch, going through the city website. Now, are we gonna change that about the fire permits? Because it still says it says on the webpage that they're $15 and you have to renew
Oh.
them every 5 years.
Sure, yep,
And I just thought maybe we wanna update that before.
yes. And I can have Pam do that tomorrow.
Okay, yeah.
So it'll be done.
I just happened to notice that, I was just looking through
Yep.
some of those
What, you
different
gotta change
things.
it to?
Thank you. Well, our new
It's a
ordinance says
one-time
it's
fee.
Oh,
one-time
okay.
fee.
One-time fee,
Thanks, Betty.
sure.
I don't know if we have any
recourse or there's any recourse for us to do it. Well, you guys know I'll drive motorcycle, and I drive it a lot. And I bet you in the last 6 days, I came to being dead about 10 times. From people crossing the center lines that are texting or on their phones, and this is in the city. And then I look at this right here, 13 cases of traffic court, and that's it. And I don't know, and I have no, I'm gonna talk to Joanne about it, if I have any recourse, because it's come so close so many times. I mean, I've seen these cars coming 3 and 4 feet into my lane. You know, if I was driving that big 1-ton pickup, I wouldn't give a damn. But on a motorcycle, well, a person on a motorcycle is more alert to people driving than anybody else, and really pay attention to the idiots on the road. And I don't know if we have any recourse as a city council to do something inside our city limits, because it's nasty out here. I mean, Highway 10, I hate to go on Highway 10 2 times in a day.
Highway
2
10's
times,
first,
but you don't even want to go near it, because they don't give a dang about anybody else, and I don't even go near it, and if I do, then I just sit and wait. But even on off times, I'm going down to Shopko, and it's unreal what they do.
I know there was some conversation the chief and I had, and even with Chief Alloy, that, you know, part of their awareness is they stop a person, he or she, and if they're texting around, it's an education for them for the first time around. And if that person is done again and they see them, then it's too bad. That's why you don't see
But
very
it
many
only
court
takes
cases.
once.
It
That's the
only
problem.
takes once.
Yeah, and it's getting too dangerous. And it's not only them texting and being on the phone, it's just them not paying attention.
Well, I think that's what you as a citizen, as a city council member, if you see it, you take their license plate number and you turn it in and be a citizen's arrest. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
As a
Some have
citizen.
said that you can do that, and then some police officers say you can't, but I haven't gotten any. Well, I was gonna contact our guy down there in Madison and see what he knows about it, but I don't know if we can or not.
Well, if you talk to the chief about it, she'll give you the ruling on it. She'll be back tomorrow. So,
Yeah, well, I was going to,
The
I
only thing
just,
we don't want to create is a whole bunch of tickets again, or.
why not? If you're
Because-
breaking the law, you broke the law, suffer
But Larry, we did that a
consequences.
few years
I
ago.
don't care.
We did that a few years ago with seatbelts, and we had people driving 5 miles around the city, outside, to stay
No,
away from.
this
it,
is
that they
dangerous.
wouldn't-
I'm talking about people that are driving 6 and 7 miles way over the speed limit in the cities, stepping on it, squealing their tires. I'm gonna see it every day. And then last time with our last police chief, I brought that up to him. I sat in his office for about an hour and a half. We discussed it. And we don't want to be known as a person city that hands out tickets. I said, well, if I break the law, I hand you the ticket, I'll pay it. I don't mind.
well, I guess you have to get some clarification from the chief when she gets back, and then you can take it from there, and we'll see what happens.
We were coming home on 141 yesterday, a lot of traffic. And the car ahead of us was using the lane, but from the center to the far edge. And finally we got around, going around. Here she had a newspaper, she was reading a newspaper.
That's not
Yeah.
always a problem.
You see the darndest thing, don't you?
People read books driving the car.
Oh, my
I
God.
heard of
Look
that.
how books on
A couple
tape.
people told me that they used to read.
And I
while
heard
they
her
were
complaints all
driving.
bad, our police department says,
I can
Brillion.
barely drive.
Let's put it this way, go to New Olsey once and try speeding.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Make a motion to adjourn.
I said, make a motion, or
Second. Okay.
Motion made by Bob and second by one of the ladies to my left.
Carry down.
Yes.
Here. All in favor, that motion say aye. Motion carried. Thank you, everybody.
Just because I.
I don't know why people say that.